This week, Relativity Space released an exciting 42-minute video update on their YouTube channel, packed with details about their Terran R program. If you'd like to check it out, the link is in the description. For those short on time, I've distilled the key points into this video, sprinkled with a few of my own opinions here and there. Before diving into the update, a quick recap. I've covered Relativity Space twice before. In August 2024, I posted an overview of the company, followed by an opinion piece in November 2024 titled, "Is Relativity Space in Trouble?" That second video was sparked by a Bloomberg article claiming the company was running low on funds. Turns out those financial woes are a thing of the past. Just 3 days ago, Relativity Space announced a major shakeup. Schmidt, former Google CEO, is stepping in as the new CEO. He's not only taking the helm, but also injecting a lot of cash and securing a controlling stake in the company. According to insiders, Schmidt has been quietly keeping Relativity afloat since October 2024, when funding reportedly dried up. The company is now 9 years old and has only launched once in 2023, when the Terran R vehicle blasted off from the launch pad and made it into space, but not orbit. The company discontinued the Terran R vehicle a month later to concentrate on the larger and reusable Terran R rocket, a direct competitor to SpaceX's Falcon 9 vehicle. Relativity will face many competitors, not just SpaceX's Falcon 9, but the New Glenn vehicle from Blue Origin, Vulcan from ULA, Rocket Lab's Electron vehicle with a larger Neutron vehicle tracking for launch in mid-2025, plus Firefly is now flying more frequently. And that's just the scene in the US. European players like ISAR Aerospace, Rocket Factory Augsburg, and PLD Space, names you'll recognise if you've been following my channel, are gearing up to enter the market later this year. The company has been silent recently, with little news appearing about their progress, so this new video is a welcome surprise. Okay, with the background information out of the way, let's get into the updates from Relativity Space from their newly released video. Terran R Design and Progress. 2025 marks a milestone for Relativity Space, the construction of the first Terran R rocket. In fact, the initial vehicle is already well underway. Let's break down the progress into sections, starting with the primary structure, the rocket's outer shell. Some of the flight hardware already produced includes domes, barrel sections, piping systems, thrust structure, and tanks, complete with wells and stringers to reinforce the first stage framework. The barrel sections, by the way, are crafted the old-fashioned way. Sheets of aluminium-lithium alloy are welded into segments, which are then joined together to form the primary structure for the first stage, interstage, and second stage. What's left to tackle? Mostly secondary components and COTS, short for commercial off-the-shelf items. These are third-party parts sourced from suppliers, ready to be integrated into the build. Engines. Relativity has been building complete engines since 2023, with their first-gen Iron Ore Block 1.1. The vast majority of the engine is 3D printed. Their Block 1.2 engine hit the engine firing duration but had a tendency to blow up. Their Block 1.3 engine, this is the current version, is much more robust and with the added ability to gimbal, which is a fancy way of saying the engine can move during flight to steer the vehicle. It also has onboard avionics and the Flight Intent software stack. The runtime on this version of the engine has exceeded the reusable service life at over 2,500 seconds, well beyond the 180 seconds needed per launch. The Terran R rocket relies on 13 of these engines, 9 that can gimbal for steering and 4 fixed in place. The engine comes in 2 variants. The sea-level version, called Iron R, delivers higher thrust for liftoff. The second, Iron R VAC, features a longer nozzle optimized for efficiency in the vacuum of space. Path to first flight. The first Terran R vehicle to fly will be the Block 1 version, which is not expected to be reused, at least at first. They will attempt re-entry and recover the first stage from a soft landing in the ocean for inspection and testing. Later in the Block 1 flights, they may be able to achieve a landing on a barge, but the vehicle is not expected to be routinely reusable until Block 2 upgrades. Reusability is baked into the Terran R's DNA from the start. The design includes landing legs, grid fins, and the engines certified for extended service lives, setting the stage for future recovery and reuse. Iteration is central to Relativity's development strategy. Block 1 will carry customer payloads into orbit, generating revenue while doubling as a learning platform for reusability. Each landing attempt will serve as an engineering stepping stone, with insights gained feeding into Block 2, which should be routinely reusable. Looking further ahead, Block 3 promises enhanced performance and a higher flight cadence. Relativity aims for at least 50 launches per year, with ambitions to scale up to as many as 100. Terran R, optimized for satellite constellations. The Terran R is tailor-made for launching low Earth orbit satellite constellations, targeting major players like Amazon's Kuiper, Eutelsat's OneWeb, Maxar's Worldview and Telesat's Lightspeed, with more expected to join the list. With the explosion in satellite constellations, the market for launch is expected to grow multiple times over this decade and into the 2030s. Relativity sees its sweet spot at around 20 tons to low Earth orbit. This payload size strikes a balance, large enough to offer an economical cost per satellite, yet compact enough to fill the payload fairing consistently. Compare that to SpaceX's Falcon 9, which boasts a 22-ton capacity but often flies with room to spare. Here is a list of SpaceX transporter missions with an estimated payload mass. As you can see, the payload falls well short of what the maximum payload capacity of the vehicle is. This is because most missions with multiple satellites are volume constrained, not mass constrained, so higher payload capacity is not useful on most multi-satellite missions. Here's the kicker: customers pay for the full rocket, whether they fill it or not, so it makes sense to match the payload capacity closer to the needs of your customers, which, as discussed already, are limited by the volume of the payload fairing, not by mass. Rocket Lab's Neutron vehicle, for instance, has a payload capacity of 13 tons, which would have been enough for any of the rideshare missions performed by SpaceX. Relativity's strategy seems to be paying off. Their customer backlog now exceeds $2.9 billion in sales. With that kind of demand, the pressure is on to get vehicles to the launch pad before the cash runs dry. I've titled this section Tensions on How to Optimize Terran R, but if you check out Relativity Space's recent 42-minute video update, you'll see they call it pragmatic decision making. The core issue is how to balance innovation with practicality. Relativity built its reputation on 3D printing, famously producing 85% of the Terran 1 rocket with their Stargate printers. Naturally, expectations were high that the larger Terran R would follow suit, pushing the boundaries of 3D printing even further. But, for various reasons, the company has pivoted to a more traditional approach to building rockets. They will still continue to 3D print intricate parts, such as the engines, but now use traditional methods for most of their primary structure, such as tanks, payload fairings and domes. Why this change of heart? Well, their 3D printers have faced technical and practical difficulties producing the outer shell of the vehicle, which are structurally critical components. Any defect in the primary structures would cause the vehicle to break up under flight conditions. Given more time, Relativity might have ironed out these issues, but customers are waiting to launch their satellites and the money is running out, so Relativity decided to pivot to a more traditional approach. For Terran R, the company now sees friction stir welded aluminium alloy tanks as the best compromise, reliable and efficient. They've also outsourced dome production to a third party, with Beyond Gravity supplying their carbon composite payload fairings. So, Relativity Space seems to have reverted to producing rocket vehicles in the same way as other startup companies. Upcoming events. Relativity Space is gearing up for the first launch of the Terran R rocket in 2026. If all goes according to plan, they'll be well positioned for a second flight soon after, with some components for the next Terran R already in production. We'll keep an eye out on Relativity Space as it continues to build the flight hardware for their first Terran R vehicle and starts qualification testing for its first launch campaign. What's your take? Are you disappointed in Relativity Space after they've ditched the idea of a 3D printed vehicle to producing their vehicle in the same way as other startups? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. That's it for this update. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe so you'll see our upcoming videos. We make videos every week covering the space industry with an emphasis on the smaller space startups that aren't covered so well on other channels. See you soon.